Scrap your legal tender and your economy will get better. Those are the words of Vikram Mansharamani, an economics lecturer at the Yale University. He argues a country like Hong Kong is doing well currently because it's abandoned its local currency for the US dollar, suggesting that Ghana can adopt the United States dollar as its currency. The cedi was introduced as legal tender under the presidency of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in 1965 and has been under the regulation of the Bank of Ghana. He cited the performance of the CFA by Francophone West African countries as evidence that Ghana can adopt another country's currency to run its economy. Will this be the right approach for Ghana? That's the question we're asking. I'm joined over the telephone now by Sami Ampa. Sami Ampa is head of research with the Gold Coast Fund Management. Sami.
Yeah, hello.
So scrapping our cedi would definitely solve our economic woes for us?
Sorry, I did not hear your question right.
I'm asking if scrapping the cedi is the way to go in reviving the economy.
Hello?
Hello, Sami, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear, but it's quite faint.
Oh, okay, let's give it a try again. I'm asking if scrapping the cedi will be the solution to solving our economic challenges here in the country.
Did you say scrapping?
Absolutely.
I mean, where is that coming from? Because the cedi seems to be our currency, the Ghanaian currency. Why should we scrap it?
Because we would want to substitute it with another currency, perhaps the United States dollar, which will help our situation when it comes to the economy.
I mean, that I don't know who is propounding that theory.
You don't think it makes sense?
It doesn't make sense at all.
Why not?
It doesn't make sense. The cedi is the sovereign currency of this country. I mean, we have agreed to use the cedi as our legal tender. So what should we look at? The United States dollars? I guess it doesn't make sense to us. I mean, the underlying assets of the cedi is the gold and then the minerals that we have. I mean, what we need to do is that we need to make sure that we bring our economy back into form. I mean, we have a lot of natural resources that give value to our currency. What we are going through as a country is just, I think it's a short to medium term challenge. And therefore, there's no idea that should be propounded that we should scrap our cedi.
I see. Sami, we'll continue the conversation. I just want you to hold your breath for a second. And John Gachi is also a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, and he's joined me over the telephone. Dr. Gachi, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
What are your own thoughts? Should we engage currency substitution as a way of dealing with our economic woes?
Well, I think historically some countries, especially Latin America, have done that, but it didn't last because there are various reasons for which countries adopt their own currency, for sovereignty reasons and for other important reasons. The reason why we request or we demand for other currency is because of trade. So the only way to strengthen your currency is to deepen and expand your trade relation with other countries in the world. If you fail to do that, then your currency will continue to be very weak. Since the time that we were in secondary school, we have been hearing about diversifying the export base of the country. We are still talking about that. If we fail to do that effectively, then it's because we do not want our currency to be strengthened. It's as simple as that. So trade is the basis of the strength of currency. Now let us go to the European Union. There are countries who have joined the European Union because of other benefits. But if you take countries like Turkey, which have some entrance into the European Union, and other countries, they are there basically because they want to take advantage of the trade opportunities. Countries are using the euro, but their currencies, their economies are very weak. They have to be supported by larger and stronger economies like Germany, which have also started recording negative growth. So the basis of your currencies is your productive capacity within, your participation in the export environment, and how much import that you have allowed for your economy. These are the things that strengthen currency. So if we go and adopt the U.S. Dollar, but our productive capacity is still weak, our management processes are still very weak, then we cannot have a better economy. So we should focus on the right thing, the fundamental thing that actually gives strength to currency.
Sammy, for you, it's totally senseless to want to substitute the cedi for the dollar. And the question then is, when we look at other countries like Zimbabwe, like the example I gave before, Hong Kong, those countries have managed to substitute, if you like, successfully to an extent, their currencies. Why can't we do same? Why is the situation for Ghana different? After all, our currency this year alone has fallen more than 30%. When you take our inflation figures too, they are not getting any better. Why can't we go that way, even if we are to go for a partial substitution?
Well, I think there are two corrections that we need to make.
John, is that for you? No, I was speaking with Sammy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, clearly, I guess Mr. Gachi made the initial point clear that we need to strengthen our trade. The one key thing that I also want to add up to what Gachi really said, and that really is a strong point, is that we have made an effort to have a single currency, that is the ECO. If you look at the Francophone countries, you could see that some countries that also use the CFA might be having some economic challenges. But because they are within the Francophone zone and then using a common currency, the issue to do with the European currency, where some countries going through economic challenges, but because they are using the euro, it gives them some pushing, affects these countries as well. I mean, it correlates in that sense. So the call for West Africa to have a common currency is one strong thing that I believe we can look at, rather than looking at, talking about substituting our currency. I rather will want us to see how best we can have a common currency within the West Africa zone. It promotes trade. It look at how we're looking up to integrate our financial market, for example. If the West African countries are sharing one common currency, it makes trade among us easier. It makes the fact that we are trying to integrate our market also have a much easier and friendlier environment to operate. So I believe that we should focus rather on that. I mean, it gives value to our currency when we do that.
I see. So John, at what point should a country seek to substitute its legal tender? Hello, John.
Yeah, I didn't hear that question.
I'm asking, at what point should a country seek to substitute its own legal tender?
It is when it becomes very clear that the value of the currency has become totally useless. Then you can do that. But the point I am making is that even if you look at Hong Kong that you refer to, apart from substitution of the currency, why can't we look at their record in terms of productive capacity? Why can't we look at their trade relations with other countries? Why can't we look at the fact that Hong Kong has become one of the financial hubs in the Asian zone? So if you substitute your currency and you don't look at these fundamentals, you will be doing nothing. So that is why I am laying emphasis on those fundamentals.
But John, you agree that
I do not think that we have reached a point where our currency has become totally valueless and useless, for which we need to substitute the currency. That call, I do not think that we have gotten to that point that we should be substituting our currency. If you look at the Francophone zone that we're talking about, yes, that they are using a common currency, that is good for them. But the risk is that if you look at most Francophone countries, their major trade partners are their colonial masters. So the risk is that if their colonial masters are suffering from huge economic difficulties because of integration of their economy with the economic system of those countries, they are likely to face a serious challenge in those countries. But going forward, as Sami said at the studio, you cannot just have a single currency for the ECOWAS zone. You need to look at the fundamental economic indicators of this ECOWAS zone. Most countries within ECOWAS zone are not meeting the convergence criteria. Nigeria meets it today, tomorrow it fell out. Ghana meets some indicators today, tomorrow they fell out. Gambia sometimes met most of the criteria, but the economy of Gambia is not strong to support the economies of most West African countries. So if we are going to adopt single currency, it is not just a paperwork. It should be based on the economic fundamentals in these countries. So we need to look at that. Going back to Hong Kong again, go and look at the Transparency International rating on corruption. You will see that they have a very good mark. But if you come to the economies we are talking about, including ours, what is our rating in terms of corruption perception? Very bad. So if we want to take countries and compare with ours, we must compare very well. If not so, we will do things that we realize that it's not the best.
Is currency substitution that bad, John? Considering it gave Zimbabwe some stability when their inflation was hitting multi-digits. And indeed, their biggest challenge in transaction is only when it comes to giving change, which for the bigger economy isn't such a challenge at all, because then some fiscal discipline has been attained.
Any policy on managing your currency has advantages and disadvantages. So what we need to do is to weigh the advantages of currency substitution and maintaining our currency and ensure that we engage in proper management of our economy and do the things that strengthen the fundamentals of the economy to move forward. There are many countries around Zimbabwe which have not substituted their currency, but they are performing better. So what do we say about that? So when we are facing a problem, the temptation is that we should take the easy approach and think that we are out of the problem. But the fundamental existence of an economy to be very strong is proper management, proper trade relationship. What we should be doing now is that we are more open to the entire world. We have skewed our trade relations with most of our colonial masters and some few countries of the West. There are more markets in Africa. There are more markets in Asia. There are more markets in the Middle East. That is what we should be thinking about, and to see how we can take advantage of all these things and it to strengthen our economy. But mere substitution does not mean that your corruption perception has dropped. Mere substitution does not mean that you have well diversified your economy. Mere substitution does not mean that you are going to mobilize more revenue in the economy. These are the fundamental problems that we are facing. Substitution doesn't solve those problems.
Right, John, I'm going to have you hold the line. Sami, I understand you have to enter a meeting, so let's wrap it up with you. Substitution, it's a no-no. John has spoken about a number of things. The fact that we need to work on our corruption perception index, we need to work on our trade, we need to work on production here in the country. How long can we wait on those things to materialize before we can have our economy revive?
I mean, that's the biggest challenge. This question should be posed to the managers of the economy because they have been mandated or given the right to make sure that we enjoy macroeconomic stability. We have marginable budget deficits. I mean, our debt portfolio is lower than what is happening now. You know, the point Gachi raised is key in the sense that if you do not want to engage into what Zimbabwe went through, what you need to do is to make sure that you have a sound economy and that the issue to do with corruption should not we should move away from the perception to the fact that we have a sound economic environment where businesses can flourish. Currently, what we have in the country to do with speculators and black market activities that are also affecting the value of our currency is something that we need to check. If you look around, you could see that the interbank rate of the cedi to the dollar is right around 3 cedis, 8 pesos. But go to the market at the moment. What you get is that the cedi you can get a dollar at 3 cedis, 80 pesos, and 3 cedis, 90 pesos. That is the problem that I believe that we should look at. If you go to the ports, for example, the Ghana Port Authorities and Customs are charging current rate of the exchange rate against what we should have had as a fixed rate that they should use to charge. So they are always charging at current exchange rate, and that is not what is going to help us. So there are so many correlations. There are so many corrections that we need to do in this country so that we do not get to that stage, or we do not start thinking or make people start propounding theories of currency substitution to us. If we're able to do that, I believe we will get on very, very well as a country.
Sammy, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much. So John, I just want us to wrap up with two really important points you've raised. First, you mentioned that the country can only go in for currency substitution when its own legal tender is totally useless. Define totally useless.
It is not useless at all. It is not useless. We have not reached the stage of Zimbabwe and all other countries that have attempted.
The question I'm asking is, when does a currency become totally useless?
Yeah, when we get to a point that the exchange rate become unbearable and the exchange rate has actually escalated the negative implication of other indicators like inflation. Where we are right now, depreciation is actually fueling inflation in the country. So when we get to a point that it becomes very, very unbearable for us to bear as businesses, as institutions, as individuals, that every day the value of your currency is changing to the tune that is not acceptable. Even 2000, where we have inflation of around 40%, we have an interest rate around 50%. We were not calling for currency substitution. We have not gotten to that point at all.
Okay. Now, the last one is, perhaps we may not want to go for a complete substitution. We might want to do the cedi or the dollar alongside the cedi as a partial substitution, sort of. Perhaps that could help, wouldn't it?
I don't think those things are necessary. You see, can you imagine what would have been the situation if government is very bold to ensure that all the state purchases that we can find in Ghana are purchased in Ghana? Do you know what effect it will have on the currency? There are solutions with us. We just have to be very steadfast and committed and declare that, and we go on, and it to affect the currency positively. But we are not doing those things. How much of local rights are being used across board in state institutions, state functions, etc.? And do we know how that would translate into a reduction in imports? So there are solutions in this country. The moment we start implementing them vigorously, we will overcome some of these problems that are associated with the currency. So I don't think that those things come to the table at all. Let us go and do the things that we know are the right thing to be done.
John, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much. Dr. John Gachi is an economist. He's also a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School.